Welcome to What's in the Box episodes of Horror with Donna and Eric. I'm Donna.
And I'm Eric.
And joining us today for Texas Author Con and Book Festival author interview, we have Stephanie DosSantos. Welcome back.
Thanks, and that would be me, right?
Yeah.
All introduction. I'm excited. It'll be my second
right.
author con and second time talking to you guys, and I've had a ball.
Yeah, it looks really interesting, the lineup we have this time. It's expanded a little bit. There's still a lot of horror, and it looks like the fantasy and science fiction's expanded a little bit, and we've got a few other genres popping in. I think we have a few more westerns and action adventure kind of stuff. So
Yeah, I think that's what I was worried about last year was, am I gonna fit in? And then I went and had a great time. So it's like,
Yeah.
of course you fit in. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the cool thing about book people, right? I
Yeah.
mean, there's only one genre of book people I know that aren't very welcoming. And I don't think we had too many of them there. So.
Okay. We won't mention who that is.
I
I
know.
don't know who
I
you're
know.
talking about, but it's
Oh,
like,
you
okay,
don't? It's romance.
what?
Yeah.
There's
Yeah, I've
romance
heard
there.
there's a little bit, but the romance, like the
Community.
cons and the community itself, they're very cutthroat and they're not very welcoming. They do
Oh,
not like
goodness.
people.
Well,
Yeah.
I will say the romance author that I met last year at AuthorCon was very nice.
Yeah, I was gonna
Yeah.
say though, I didn't think of any that just jumped out as straight up romance.
Yeah.
They all had something else going on with the romance, like it was
Yeah, they I think were mostly dark romance because like
Yeah.
Dicey
Or paranormal
Grenor
or
and
something.
Chantel. Yeah,
and
they were all
those are all more fantasy / horror than they are romance.
Okay, because
Those-
I
they
was like,
don't-
God, I hate to call other authors out. Like we're all just doing our thing here. But I was
Oh no,
like,
no, no,
everybody I met was great.
No, at our event, yes. But if you go to a romance conference, they aren't always so nice. And they will go after anybody for the slightest thing just to get rid of them, just to remove them.
Crazy.
Yeah, there's a ton of stories. I was talking to a guy at Scares in Virginia, and he does documentaries, and he was talking about maybe trying to do a documentary behind all the things that happen at the romance conventions and the community
my
itself. So if it's
God.
big enough for a guy that want to do a documentary about it, then it's a big thing.
Oh my. That's news to me.
yeah. You're like, I'm glad I don't write romance.
Yeah, I know,
Yeah.
right? So
If I wanted to make a ton of money, that's what I should write. But yeah, it's just not not my thing. So
Yeah, you got to get into the weird though, weird romance. Like,
yeah,
there's a
like the
romance
pillow.
out there. Yeah, I read it. It's called Stuffed, and it's about a woman who like her pillow comes alive and turns into her boyfriend. And I read one called Seduced by My Pumpkin Spice Latte about a woman who like has the pumpkin spice latte boyfriend.
okay. All right.
Those usually fall a little more into, I think, the absurd erotica, but
Yeah,
that's still
probably.
very
That's
popular.
yes. Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah,
Or as they like to call it, smut.
yeah,
Yeah, well,
smut.
yeah.
So
Everybody can relate to that one.
yeah. So normally we have questions about horror, but as we established last year that you're not a big horror person, so we did science fiction fantasy. So we got a second group of questions, and hopefully they fall into the categories of stuff that you enjoy. So the first one's gonna be real simple: Star Wars or Star Trek? It's not simple. Okay, cool. You're like, I hate them both.
Star Wars.
Star Wars?
Just a little
Good
more
answer.
familiar with Star Wars and Chewbacca, he's more animal-like, I guess. I don't know. There's a love
Have you
story
seen the Star Wars stuff?
when I was this tall, I've seen
Okay, so like you haven't seen
I
the
was
new
no,
the
I
new
was
stuff.
forever scarred when my brother took me, and one of the big white animals in the snow, and Luke has to cut one open to stay alive and stay
Yeah.
alive. I have been
Empire.
scarred for life. I was
The
just
Tauntaun, yeah.
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 Okay, I
Oh,
get that.
Tauntaun. Yes, thank you. Scarred forever.
Redone in Family Guy, hilariously, when they cut Peter open and they crawl inside Peter.
Yeah.
So without that, we wouldn't have got to see that. So yeah, they have some Star Wars actually movies. They have 3 of them where they make fun of all 3 of the original movies.
Gotcha.
So
Not a Family Guy
excuse me.
fan either, if you can tell. Not a big
That's okay. That's okay.
I'm like this one-off person. It's so hard for you to
Well,
draw
then I'm going to
information
think
from.
this next question's really going to be a curveball. Babylon 5, Stargate, SG-1, or Doctor Who? How many of those do you recognize?
I recognize the names. And
Okay.
I probably recognize Doctor Who just because that was on TV for me growing up, but it was never something that I ever watched. Doctor Who?
All
Just
right,
'cause
that's
it
good.
sounds
Okay,
familiar.
now
I
which
have
is your
no
favorite
clue,
Doctor?
guys. I am totally bombing
No,
here.
that's okay.
No
I should have
idea.
leaned more into the fantasy
Fantasy.
aspects of stuff. Now I do have a question. Happily Ever After or Merlin? Do you prefer either one of those? Have you
Merlin.
seen? Yeah, Merlin. There's actually a boy, it came out years ago. It was on science. Was it Sci-Fi Channel, I guess? And now you can watch it on
Watch
Netflix.
the Sci-Fi Channel.
Nothing.
No, when you were saying Happily Ever After or Merlin, I thought you were gonna say
Oh,
like
not
Happily
Happily Ever
Ever
After. Once
After
upon
or
a
like
time.
Cliffhanger,
Yeah, no, no. I
these
meant Once
horrible,
Upon a
terrible
Time.
endings to books. And so I was
Yeah.
like, what's a Merlin?
Okay. Let's see. So I guess.
I'm 0 for 3 here, Eric.
Well, I know, but I said Happily Ever After. What I meant was Once Upon a Time. Did you watch that?
No.
Okay.
So do you have a favorite fantasy creature, or let me just say, do you prefer elves or dwarves?
Oh, there you go. That's a good one.
That's better. Um, don't this is awful. I'm gonna go with elves because they're more magical. They're more living in
Okay.
other worlds.
I know we discussed this last time, but what's your favorite fantasy series? What's the series that got you going into that kind of aspect?
I forgot what I said, but
Oh, no, that's fine because it can be different now.
no, I mean, I didn't do a ton of reading because
Mhm.
I hated to read, because you always had to read this at school or you had to read that book. And I was just like, I want to read what I want to read. I don't want to read what you want me to read,
Mhm.
and I guess that was just me. I liked reading about animals and nature and stuff like that. The book that I really liked that also wrecked me as a kid was Charlotte's Web.
Okay.
Oh my gosh. I should probably pick that book up again and read it. But of course the Narnia and stuff, Chronicles of Narnia, those are kind of more my Gen X. So, so
Which I think we talked about last time, which I don't is
yeah,
part of
and
why I
you
didn't
told
put
me
it on there.
about the unicorn one and a
Yeah,
couple other
Last
ones.
Unicorn. Did you watch it yet?
I
You've had
haven't
a
yet.
year. You've had
I
a whole
haven't
year to
yet.
watch it.
Has it been a year?
It
I
has
think
been
it
a
has been
year.
a year. Actually, I think
Yeah.
you've had longer than a year. So we started doing these early last year. But yeah, you need to watch The Last Unicorn. Even I
All
think you'd really
right.
enjoy
I
it.
will get there eventually. We'll get there.
So
Tell
what
me
about
you've watched uh Legend.
no, she hadn't seen Legend.
No, I think now you're reminding me, Eric. I think we talked more about like the Dark Crystal, Never
Yeah.
Ending
Dark Crystal. Yeah.
Story,
Yeah.
those things, again, Never Ending Story, a
Was
story
it?
that will wreck you when the
Yeah.
horse,
Oh,
no spoilers, but the horse
yeah.
scene. If you've seen it,
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't remember. Were you a fan of Lord of the Rings?
I saw a few of them. They're all right. I don't think that I really got into it like, oh my God, I've got to watch 1 and 2 and 3, 4. I never read the books. I don't know how many there are. Um, but I mean, I like the concept from when I'm hearing people talk about it or
Mhm.
I see, bits of it online or something like that, just because it's a fantasy world and it's this magical trek and they return the ring and, all the
Yeah.
symbolism stuff. I like that kind of stuff. So I would probably enjoy it, but
Well, they're about to do another one.
oh,
They're
well,
about
then
to
I'm
do one
going to
that
binge watch.
focuses. They're going to focus on Gollum, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, did you watch the I didn't watch the whole thing, but there was a Dark Crystal series. I think it was on Netflix.
I heard about it, but
co-
I did not watch it.
Yeah.
I should have. That
Yeah.
would, I
It
would
was
be
pretty
into that.
good. It was pretty good. Now let me ask you, when did the Skeksis like freak you out?
A little bit. Yeah,
Yeah.
when
Mostly their voice,
my
though, right?
mom
Yeah.
told me to go see this and she took me to the theater. I'm like, I don't want to see it. It's scary. Well, then I fell in love with it,
Mhm.
and
Right.
I have the DVD downstairs, I made the husband sit through and watch it, I'm like, this is so great. It's got puppets and this and that. So it's like my little kid came out again.
Yeah. Fizzgig.
Fizgig, yes, Fizgig, the little fuzzy guy. That's
Did
right.
we talk about Labyrinth last time? Have you
A
seen
little bit,
Labyrinth?
yeah, because that had
Okay.
David Bowie, right?
Right.
Hmm.
But
Mhm.
all the Muppets and all the cool creatures and
Oh
stuff.
yeah,
So
I'm a puppet fan for sure.
Now, were you for I forget what um were you for the Goblin King or were you for the girl? in Labyrinth.
I didn't get to watch all of Labyrinth. I know of it.
No.
Yeah, it's another thing we established last
This
time.
just guys are striking out here.
Man,
I feel like we're pitching a no hitter. You're striking out. We're doing
Yeah.
fine. So, but yeah,
That's what
no,
everybody says. How can you be a writer when you haven't
actually,
read or
that's
seen
not.
all these
Yeah, but
things?
that's not true. I mean, you can tap
Yeah.
into other things, and you have a life experience, and you're always traveling and all that, and you have enough. You've seen enough things. In fact, I think it's kind of cool that you probably are tapping into things that aren't fantasy related, and you're able to spin it in a way that makes it this presentation that most fantasy fans, fall in love with instantly.
Like in the
So,
book, whether like you're comparing the underworld that's fantasy and then above ground for Talon when it's real life stuff that he has to deal with. Is that what you're
I'm
referring
just
to?
you're the fact that you do this, that you pull from real life experiences and stuff, and you make this incredible fantasy series that you're writing, that readers can fall in love with. That and they have all the background information. They've been seeing and reading fantasy their whole life.
I
And
hope
you're
so.
and you're tapping into it and
That's
doing
the
a good
goal.
job with it. Yeah.
We're on book 3 and finishing this week, so that's the
Oh,
goal.
awesome.
Nice.
Great. So do you think you'll have book 3 ready? Or is it going to be one of those near
I
miss things?
think it's going to be a near miss. I think for the event it will probably be a pre-order just because I literally have a week to get it to the editor and I haven't even gone through like my one big long edit of it.
Right.
And I think by the time I get her edits back, I make changes. I also have a family trip coming up and work and this and that. And well, by the time I know my final word count, I get that back to the designers to get the spine. They're on vacation for 3 weeks. Then I've got to, I got to format, then I got to upload, then I got to order, then they got to get the books here. And so
Mhm.
if I get it done by some miracle, it will be there. But at least I'm gonna get some more banners and things made, kind of PRing that and saying, hey, book 3 is coming, but here, jump into the story now. Got my prequel and book 1 and book 2 out, but it will at least be, at
Yeah,
the
we got
very
those
least, be a pre-order.
beautiful covers
Yep.
of your books. Because when at TAC last year, you were kind of behind me and I just kept seeing your banner with the leopard on it. And I was just like, that is so beautiful. And I didn't even know anything about what these books were about. And I was just like, I need them. And I
Did you
got
come by and get them or did I trade with you?
no, I got them. I got those. I got the
You're
3 of
so
them. I got the prequel and
Oh, you got
Fantasy.
all of them. Oh, I
Yeah.
didn't. Oh, I
I
forgot.
haven't read them yet, but
Sound like me.
Yeah.
Okay, I totally get it.
yeah. So is it the same cover designer for the third one?
Yes, I use Deranged Doctor Design. So that's book 1 and book 2 you've got there. And I've got prequel here. I don't know if you're seeing on the screen. Is it
Yeah.
backwards? It's backwards for me.
No,
Nope, it's not.
it's fine.
It's fine.
It looks good.
But this is like 34,000 words versus 70. So
Yeah.
it's much shorter, but you can get the hardbacks from me, but you can get the free ebook online by being a newsletter subscriber. But I don't obviously send these out for free, but they're not
Yeah.
for sale. But then book 3 that I'm working on now is The
Ooh.
Horse.
Oh, very
So
nice.
again, same designer. He is a toxic breathing horse with 3 legs that
Oh, I thought you were talking about the designer for a second.
Yeah, me
You
too.
started- Yeah, you same guys, toxic.
That's right.
jerk.
No, they're amazing. They're really good. And then this
Oh.
will be book 4 told by the secondary character's point of view. Is it focusing? There we go.
Yeah.
The secondary character's point of view, Marisha. So that will be a very different for me to write, different point of view because I've been in Talon's head for so long. So this is book 4. And I just finished up a couple of outlines and things for book 5, the final one. Try to get
Nice.
focus. So
Yeah.
this was one of them I really liked just because I kind of told him what I wanted. And this was the only one that I just said, that's it. It's done. No changes, nothing. Because I think when I started out, I didn't let them do their thing. Oh, can you change this and make this and change that? I mean, it still turned out absolutely great, but it was, I think I learned as I went on with books to give them the freedom to do what they do. And so
Right.
when I've done that, that's when I get the most compliments, but I've still been, complimented on them. And I think they're fun and they're bright and they glow and they're different. And
Yeah.
I love them. So
Yeah, they're absolutely beautiful. I do love them. So you're gonna have 5 books. That's a 6 with the prequel. So
yep,
that's
for my first series, looking back, probably maybe bit off a little more than I can chew, but that's how you learn. I mean, had I done
Sure.
like a duology or trilogy, I would have been done with a series and on to the next one. But just the way and the time frame and me learning as a writer, and I mean the time frame in the book, just it felt like it just needed to be that long.
Mhm.
So yeah, I've just got to learn to kind of spread time a little for that fifth book. And again, just getting ready to talk to you guys today, kind of getting stuff in the house. It was like, of course, you're not doing anything. That's what I need to do, So I had to
Yeah.
go down, how I'm gonna, finish, book 4 to book 5 or, book 3 to book 4. So it's like it just pops in, you just kind of let it marinate. And it's like you
Yeah.
figure I'm kind of a pantser plotter mix. So
Now, was that always the intention to have 5 books, or when you started writing book 1, that kind of just is how it happened? You're
I
like,
think
oh,
I think after book 1, I knew, okay, well, this can be, this can happen here, and then it can be this thing, like the main
Mhm.
plot line, storyline. This can happen in 1, then it's got to lead to 2, then I've got to pass time because then he's got to be a certain age for this to happen, and then I got to, I think I maybe tried to outline a little too much, but then, yeah, I realized, yeah, let's next time just write the book, and when it's done, and when you've said what you need to say, then that's it. Instead of, oh man, now I got to drag that out to 5 more books. I mean, so there's a little bit of both of that in there going, I did outline it and plan it that way, but then looking back, probably could have told the story in 3 books instead of 5. But I mean, the more you do, the more I marinated on it. Like I had so much fun with the prequel that, I mean, I could probably write 2 more, but I won't say
Mhm.
never. Yeah, I'll never say never, but I do want to leave it open for that possibility, but I still need to close my storyline. But I am ready to do something a little bit different and get something else out there.
now do you already have something in your mind for the next
I don't
endeavor?
have anything super duper concrete, but I want to delve more into mystical, magical elements, kind of like quantum, and magic and things like that. I don't want to do any kind of present day, modern day, anything. I want it to be completely anything goes, another world.
Okay, I
So
was gonna say, do you want it to be based here, or do you want to make it start from
somewhere
scratch?
else. And I
Yeah.
want it to be more of like a tournament battle style. I think we talked last time, and I just love the
Mhm.
Hunger Games. I don't want to duplicate the Hunger Games. The Hunger Games is the Hunger Games for a reason, but I want to do something with more of the mystical and the magical and things like that. Because I'm a big nature travel, animal person. So I
Yeah, but the
think
Hunger Games is actually the exact same thing as Battle Royale, so which is a Japanese movie. Just
I that's what
so
everybody says. Every story's already been told,
so yeah, you
but
don't have to worry
not
about
from,
that
some
point of view for sure.
point of
But
view.
you could take it and put your own spin on it, and it would be
Sure.
something that people would be like, oh, it's like the Hunger Games, so you could sell it that way, and then like the
Yeah.
Hunger Game meets Harry Potter meets whatever you wanted to throw in there.
And
So
that is the hardest thing about selling that I learned at AuthorCon last year. I was like, oh God, when do people come up to the booth and, they haven't seen the covers before or whatever, like you said, they were like,
mhm.
well, what's it about? And then you have the big, moment, it's like you've thought about it, the entire time. And when you have people lined up, you want to give it to them quick or they're going to move on. And
Right,
so I think by the second day that I learned, it's this book and this book had a kid, it would be Talon on the Tree, you
yeah,
know. So once I figured out what books to compare it to and say it's like this, it went much better because people
yeah.
could relate to that.
Yeah, it's funny because at book events, I always say my book, Sins of the Past, is Sherlock Holmes and Cthulhu mashed together. It feels like Murdoch Mysteries, if you know what that is. Everybody at the book places know. Now, I assume you don't know what it is, but
Right.
Murdoch Mysteries, yeah.
It's not my genre.
It's a story, it's a book series. It's based in Canada, and it's basically the series itself, the book series, it's just a guy that's a detective. He's not even really a detective, he's just kind of like a cop. But in the TV show version of it, he's like Sherlock Holmes, super smart, solving crime, makes stuff. People at book festivals know what that is.
Mhm.
This weekend I was at Frightmare, which is a horror convention and not
I saw the
anything new.
pictures. That's fun.
Yeah, well, they don't know what it is.
Mhm.
And nobody at the table that I was sharing with knew what it was. And so I got to eat a lot of crap over Murdoch Mysteries for 3 days. So we'll have to think of another way to describe it. But at book places, it usually goes over pretty quick because it is a book series and it's a popular show if you have like Acorn or any of that stuff. So
Most readers are not like me. They're usually pretty well read. And I'm not, unfortunately.
well, I'm so far behind. I'm really well read if we discuss things that I read years ago. But if it's anything new, I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about. I don't know anybody. So
the TBR is growing. Oh, that sounds
Mhm.
like a good book. I need that. Just like Donna, you just get busy. She's like, oh, I want to get your books, and then you have every intention. But life just happens, life
Yeah.
and work and other
Well,
things. And then it
part
just
of the reason
And more books show up that you want.
yeah, that's the other thing. But part of the reason that Don and I started doing this was to force my hand into reading them. So that because we talk about books all the time.
Yeah.
And by all the time, I mean like way after Don is done reading it, I'll eventually get it done and can talk about it.
You'll get there, right?
So,
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
So would you, if someone came to you and said, hey, I'm thinking about writing a book, doesn't matter the genre, what advice would you give someone who was just in the process of thinking about, let's get a book out there?
I have a family member who is a very good writer. And she's, oh, I'm so proud of you, wrote these books. I need to do mine or finish mine or start. Just do it. Just start. I mean, I think the thing that people get hung up on, I kind of did at first, but I knew I was going to edit. But some people are so caught up with it's got to be perfect the first time I write it down. And it's like, as far as going back, well, I've already said this. Delete it, erase it, fix it. I just totally, like again, oh, this is how I can end my book story a minute ago. I'm going to totally have to change the age of my character, and I'm almost done with the book. I've got to make more time pass if I want certain things to happen in further books. You can always change it. Nobody's going to read it until after you edit. Nobody's going to see it but you. And then once you do start editing, something I always like to pull from Craig Martell is when you're done and you do edit it and you go back and you make changes, you're going to nitpick that thing forever. Good enough is good enough. Is my book perfect? No. Will my future books be perfect? No. Will they be good enough? Sure they will. So it's like you gotta get over that hump. One, just start. Two, nobody's going to see it until you're ready for them to see it. So just get the words down and you can always change it. And good enough is good enough. Those are the big things I keep coming back to, telling this family member, just write it down. I want to read your book. Just write it down. And
the
they're like,
hardest thing
I
is
know.
I said the hardest thing is just getting it down. The
It
initial,
is.
you just got to put it on page, put it on the page, and then go back and fix it.
Yeah.
Doesn't
And make
matter.
the
I
time
mean,
to do it. Yeah.
there are times where I will write and then I will have just a mark that says something, just one sentence generic that fill this in with this kind of idea. Just keep going.
That's
Keep
exactly
going.
what I did.
So
Yeah. Because
and then
going through, go ahead.
no, I was just saying it's just you'll fix it later, like you said.
Yep.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's what I do in my manuscript right now. I'm like, okay, Talon is blah, blah, blah. Then in parentheses, and I highlight it, describe this. Bang, moving on. And I just keep, so now I go back, I'm like, okay, now I can take a little time and I can describe where he's at, what he's doing, what this looks like, what that smells like, or whatever. I can add that in. But I mean, I don't want to do it too much, but there's a lot of highlights in this this rough draft right now that I've got to finish.
Right.
So, but that's exactly what you do. You leave a note for yourself. Nobody's going to see it but you.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
Perfect. So if you were able to choose an author to collaborate with,
Oh,
who would you choose?
ooh, this was a good one. I didn't get her book out. It's Sarah Beth Durst. That was another book that we talked about when you said who got you back into fantasy and reading writing. She wrote the Queen of Renthia series, and she writes a lot of middle grade, and she is brilliant at, I think, at description and characters and new things. And she also enjoys nature and animals and things like that. So the Queens of Renthia series really got me back in there, and I think that would be super cool. That would be cool.
Nice. That's a name I've not heard before. Of course, I don't read a lot of fantasy, so I'll have to check the Queens of Renthia. I'll have to
The
look into
Queens of
this.
Renthia series, and it's Sarah Beth Durst.
Okay.
Yep, she's a
Awesome.
trad author. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
She's kind of a mid-list. trad author.
All right. And if you were to get an offer, if you were to take Talon in the Tree and get it on screen, who would you pick to play your main characters?
Talon, I don't know, but I've thought about this. I would like some like up and coming young teen actor that's like gonna knock it out of the park. I don't know who that would be. It would need to be somebody with some sort of Caribbean or Grenada, South African something background. But the secondary character, Papa Bois, I would just go crazy if it was Morgan Freeman. Morgan Freeman
Okay.
in the Caribbean. That's how I describe Papa Bois. That's who I would want. Is my big
Morgan,
name. Bring it in.
yeah, Morgan Freeman can make anything good. I love that man. He's
He's
such a great
amazing.
actor. He
Yeah.
is.
You see all the posts on, oh, today Morgan Freeman died. I'm like, please don't die. I need you in my movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Please don't die until you film this movie. Please don't die.
Right. You need
Yeah.
to stay around. You need to be in my book, my
Right.
movie.
So if you
Not
did it as a movie though, would it be 5 movies or would you try and
oh
stretch
no.
it to 12 or
I don't think anybody would watch 5 movies, but no. I think you could get it done in 2.
Okay.
Maybe
Okay.
1. I mean, it would be very, once you condensed everything down,
Mhm.
I think 1 long movie might get it, but it would be like, okay, hold on, wait, who is who and the character with the family who and what's the name? Because there's a lot of secret names and family histories and stuff that does get a little bit confusing, but no more than 2, I wouldn't say. But that's what's cool about thinking about movies is when I write the book, I know exactly how it looks in my brain.
Right.
Now whether I translate that to the page correctly or not, every different person that picks it up, you or Don or whoever, they're going to have a completely different view of what that world looks like. No matter how well I describe it, it's going to look different in their head. And
Yeah.
that's what I think, and I've also, you know, read a lot of stuff and seen things on YouTube. They're like, just don't even get it in your head if you want a movie that you're going to be able to say it's got to be like this.
Oh yeah,
No,
no, there's
that
no.
that person's vision of your book. And if you're
Yeah.
okay letting that go within reason, okay. But it's like, no, that's their interpretation. That's their art.
Unless you write the screenplay.
Oh,
Even then it
I
doesn't
have no
matter.
business doing that.
Yeah,
No
because the
business.
director will take it. And a lot of
No,
times
he
the
will
director,
say,
yeah.
no, girl.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's amazing when you read see some of the behind the scenes stuff about how writers are treated in Hollywood or even as indie filmmakers. They are less than the caterers, it seems like, it's like
Yeah.
they take their stuff and the director does what he wants with it, the producer kills whatever it wants, and then if you're lucky, you're gonna get something close to what you thought of. So
Yeah, and not everybody is going to be at J.K. Rowling level. I mean, I think,
yeah,
there are
you really
very
have to
few
be.
people
Yeah.
that are at that level that can say, no, needs to be like this.
Honestly, same with directors. There's only a handful of them that have final say. So if the
Yeah, sure.
company wants to kill it, they can do whatever they want. And that's why you
It's
see
who's
so many
getting the money.
movies that are
Mhm.
terrible because they don't fit with what anybody wanted
Yeah.
that was creative. It's always
And
the bottom line thing.
that's something I've heard about, like the Percy Jackson movies, which
Mhm.
I've not seen yet. I've heard stories that the first time that he had a movie done, he's like, it was not, he goes, it could have been so much better, but just because, like you said, some of the decisions that were made and stuff, people, even the people watching the movie left the theaters, oh, this could have been better, the book was better, people have said it's better anyway. But this second go around, I think it's Netflix or something that he's doing a series of.
Disney.
Is it a movie?
Mhm.
Oh, Disney, sorry.
Yeah.
Because I follow him on the Instagram and stuff, and he was saying, oh, it's so much better this time around.
Well, it's also getting a longer form, which I was going to ask you, would you prefer that? Would you
A
rather
what?
it be a longer form, like a mini series or a
Oh, a longer form.
Yeah.
That actually might fit it actually a little bit better now that we're talking out loud. It might.
Yeah, I was gonna say because you get, let's say, 8 episodes for a season, focuses on the first book, and then you switch to the next book, and then you get
Yeah.
the same kind of thing.
Yeah, I
The
would be
problem
open. Yeah.
would be depend on how your characters age in the book versus how they're gonna age on
Yeah.
TV and all that
I
stuff.
think they're going to age about 3 or 4 years over 5 books. I think it is. Depending on how I now need to go back and change my manuscript
Right.
today.
Stephanie
Yeah.
has some homework to do.
I do. Yeah. Oh, definitely. It'll make much more sense though if I do. I told myself, okay, it's gonna be better if you just do this. Just suck it up. You only mention age a few times. Go
Yeah.
find it and fix it.
Yep, I had the same situation. Well, not the age situation, but I was working on a project and it just wasn't going the right way. I ended up just throwing it all away and starting over.
No, don't
And
go.
then, yep, just tossed it. We started over. Same general idea, but I finally figured out the A to B to C part of it. So,
But it was better in the end.
oh
Yeah.
yeah, it will be when I finish it. But
That's
back
what
to the
my
beginning.
editor told me with book one. She's like, this is really good, but your story does not begin on page 1. Your story begins down here on page 24. Ditch the rest. You start your story on page 24. Get rid of that. I was like, no,
Yeah.
it's the first time. But she was right. She goes, this is you telling yourself the story. Your reader doesn't need all this gobbledygook. Get rid of it. So I did. I know I tried to pull in, those details that I liked and that I worked so hard to put in, in other parts. But she's like, you can always come back and, feed in what you info dumped to me.
Mhm.
And that's just, learning. But that's very true. Sometimes, I mean, that's why you have editors that makes it better. Or, like I just figured out, gotta change the age. Boom, this is gonna make it better. So just do it.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think last year you said TAC was your first event that you had done?
First ever.
Yeah. So besides the describing of your book, because you had told us how you just figured it out in your mind as the day went on or as the event went on, what would you do this year that would be different from last year? Would you have anything different at your table, a different approach to people? Would you play some music?
Music would be fun. I would probably play jungle sounds or something, but I just think there's so much going on already. I don't want to muddy it up, and then you're still yelling and talking and over everyone else to get them to hear what you're saying. That would be cool though for a smaller show. I think my signage needs to be a little bit more clear as far as which one is book one, which one's the prequel, because people think the prequel's book one or vice versa. And I think I had the prequels for like $8 and they picked up book one and handed me $8 instead of like my 12 or 15 or whatever it was. I'm like, it's one book, let them go. You're bad, figure it out. So make my signage a little bit more clear. I think just the hard part was me as a little bit of an introvert talking to them first, not having them come to me and say, what's your book about? So, hey, are you a fantasy reader? What do you like to read? Or, you start the conversation, pull them into your table. I think maybe do a little bit more of that. But there's a few people I saw sitting down and not really saying anything and just had their books out, and people, I don't remember your booth, girl.
I was in front of you, so I was like, it was you against the wall, and then there was a row of tables, and I was on the other side. So,
were you? Okay, I'll have
yeah,
to look again.
but that was my first event too. So
yeah,
I was
We've already
kind of just like,
discussed that. We discussed it as soon as it was over.
yeah, but it is nervous because you don't know what to say, but
Yeah.
people will walk right by. So,
Oh yeah,
and
no, nobody wants to stop.
I try to
Nobody wants to
stand
stop.
up, be ready, be engaged, do not sit down, I mean, yes, you're tired for 2 days standing up, take a break when it's slow, sit down. But if you see somebody coming by, get the booty up and start talking. It's like you're there to sell. So
yeah.
I think that get my signage, just continue to stay engaged. And I think
Now, are you going to bring more or less candy than you did last year? Because I remember last year you were
Yeah.
like, I brought so much candy. Can people come and take some candy?
I did. I was telling everybody the last day, take some candy. I'm not taking this home. I don't know. I will probably have some candy, but I will probably bring, but here's what I'll be. I'll be at Costco and I'll be like, oh, I need 4 bags because it's a bigger event. There's more people, and I'll be at the same problem. I'm going to come home with candy, but I will have candy.
Yeah, because you got to factor in that everybody has candy. So
well, that's true too.
That.
Yeah, that's true. So
I just remember that from last year. It was so funny. I just remember you saying, do you want some candy? Take some candy.
Come see Steph's table. If you want candy, you miss lunch, come to my table. That's
Yeah.
right. Number 3. I'm number 3.
Well, it's going to be a longer event too, so you might need the extra energy. I mean,
Oh,
it's
see, and I
one.
might need the extra candy. Now, see, he's
Oh,
talking me into it,
see?
Donna. Look at that. He's talking more candy.
I know
Yeah.
what table I'm hanging out at.
That's right. Are we anywhere near close to each other this year? I'll have to look you up. I'll have to see. I'll
Yeah, I
I'll
don't-
lob it across the aisle and throw it at you. Hey,
yeah.
Donna, heads
Yeah,
up.
because we
Yep.
did move it to a new hotel, and the layout,
Right.
I liked it. I like it more. It's a little more. I don't want to say welcoming, but just everything about it. The outside, the parking is right next to where they can come in and go right to the
Oh,
event. They don't have to walk
okay.
through the hotel at all.
Or a parking
And
garage or anything. Okay.
yeah,
Cool.
it's not. And it's just we'll have some. Meryl will have somebody to direct people through the right doors, but there's a lot of different exits and entrances, and so just the layout itself feels more. I don't know. I want to say controlled, but it's just going to be easier to float people through it. I don't think the setup's going to be
Travel.
quite as boxy as it was last time, because they actually ended up changing some of the tables, the people that were at the event, to get it so that it would flow a little bit better for them at their end.
Oh.
So
Yeah,
I was in
he's
the back
good with
far
his
corner,
signage.
so I didn't really see anything. So
Yeah, I think you were across from me then.
Yeah.
two
Yep.
rows up.
Rose, but I mean, he's good with his signage. I mean, he's got lots of signs right there by the door. Come this
Mhm.
way. He's got people sitting out front, trying, hey, funnel people in. So I think it'll be good.
Yeah, and the hotel itself is really nice. If you go to the other side, there's a very nice, the whole bar setup, the food setup. It's really nice and open. It's not going to be like the other one that had all those different barriers, so that everybody was kind of boxed in,
Yeah, that was
little
weird.
groups and stuff. And I don't know if we'll have to worry about competing choirs. So,
Yeah.
Yes, I heard
although
about
that
that.
would be hilarious if they were there. So,
Oh
Oh.
my gosh, would it? Yes, we'll have to sing something for you.
with a dance off or something.
Yeah, dance off. I can see that too. I'm from the 80s, 70s. I'm Gen X. I can, Running Man. No, I can't. I'll break something
You
else.
can't Running Man.
We'll bring a nice big sheet of cardboard for you guys to break dance on.
Oh, I used to love breakdancing, but I could never do it. I would break myself breakdancing.
I have
Yeah.
a feeling most of us would have difficulty just getting up. So it would be
Yeah.
that's who wins. The first one that can get back to their feet wins this event.
That's exactly right.
Wins the
You-
candy from Stephanie's table.
There
Yeah.
you go.
That's right. You get that sugar rush, then see how many times you can spin in a row and stand up without falling over.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but the hotel's really nice, and there's more food options.
Cool.
Things in walking distance, a little more fast food, plus some restaurants, and the menu looked okay at the place. So
Good deal. I
So
like
you
I
it.
said
think-
you like breakdancing. Did you ever watch Break In or Breakin' 2 Electric Boogaloo? How could you like breakdancing if you never saw
horrible.
those movies?
oh
Oh
man,
my God, it's crazy. I'm so
this is my
horrible.
favorite game. It was my favorite game last year too. Is just mentioning things that you probably haven't seen, just to have that reaction.
Keep going. I'm sure there's
Mm.
more.
So I already know what to do for next year's interview.
Okay.
So we'll have that.
He's gonna
set.
find something. So now I'm gonna have to be well
We're gonna
read.
assign you homework before. So
I
like
did
a
last
month
year.
before.
I was gonna say I did last year. And she
He
hasn't watched
did,
any
and
of
I
it.
failed miserably.
But that's all right. You've been working on your books. That makes sense.
Yeah.
We'll give you a pass.
Okay.
Yeah,
I get a
It's
whole
all
pass.
good. The whole purpose of this is so people can see your personality anyways. So this is perfect. Like,
Yeah, there's that girl that doesn't know anything about the real world, what's going on. She just lives in her head.
No. So what are you looking forward to the most about this year's Texas AuthorCon?
I just think meeting more people. I mean, I like to sell books. But I just like meeting the people also, and just getting to know other people that you can either collaborate with or you can go do more shows with. Like, when we're breaking down last year, it was Seth Overton was
Mhm.
directly across from me. Didn't even
Yep.
know we live in Hutto. Didn't even know it till we're breaking down. I'm like, you live there? I live there, so we didn't even know. And I've talked to him a few times to say, hey, let's go to like the fall festivals. Let's get a table. Let's, try to sell our ware. So I think just networking
Mhm.
and getting with people and either doing your own small town events or something or other shows, I think that can be really, really good.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Getting connections where people that live close to you and you can do those little things.
Yeah, and his wife he was giving away one of his books with the foil, the edging that they do on the
Mhm.
edges. And I was like, oh my gosh, how do you do that? Can you do that for my books? And so not just that, but I mean, there's other things like that you can network with and get to know and have other products and stuff. Eventually I'll get some hardbacks out and have her do those for me, do the edges.
Nice.
Very
Yeah,
cool.
that'll be great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it this year. It'll be good. It'll be my third. I think I did better at Scarce That Care this year. So,
But like I said, you had a few more books and you had that experience of the first one
Uh-huh.
under your belt, and you were able to bounce off of that, those ideas and stuff. So I think you'll do very good this year.
yeah,
Yes.
I think so
And that's
too.
the hardest thing is the first time you do something with anything in
Mhm.
life. Oh, I've never done this before. Am I gonna fit in? Is it, all that. Just jump in, do it and get it over with. It ain't that bad.
Yeah.
And you have fun. So
Yeah, and if it's your first event, I went into it thinking I wasn't going to sell anything,
mm.
because I'm like,
But you
this is my
did, didn't
first,
you?
a little bit.
Yeah.
But so for people that this is their first event that they're ever doing, you know, don't go in the mindset, oh, I'm going to sell out. Yes, that would be fantastic to sell out or sell half your stock, but
Mm-hmm.
don't go into it thinking that you're going to,
Yes.
because then you just may set yourself up for disappointment and thinking, oh, I didn't sell all my books that I brought, or I didn't sell any, or I only sold two or something like that. You got to get out there. You got to be, you know, I'm an introvert. It's very hard for me to if it's people I don't know, it's hard for me to draw them into me, you know? So I get that. And, that's why it's nice for me actually to do these interviews. So I get to know you and I know your face and I can go up to you now and say, hey, Stephanie, how's it
Yep.
going?
Yep.
And I feel like I kind of got a little bit of a connection. So, I'm sure you felt the same way.
Mhm. Oh yeah,
So,
and I brought way too many books. The first, I still have books left over from last year. I'm bringing back, but yeah, hopefully I'll have, you know, enough that I can say it was a good show. Put a little dent in those,
Mhm.
selling up. So
yeah.
yeah, I did sell some, but it obviously didn't sell out, which would have been great. But yeah.
Now, do you think, one last question, do you think that you'll ever branch out to a different genre or subgenre of
Hmm,
fantasy?
it's a good question. Never say never. I like fantasy because I can make stuff up. And
Yeah.
I've always had a crazy imagination, growing up as a kid. And as old as I am now, still refuse to grow up. So I will probably always have some sort of fantasy element. So as far as like breaking out, I think if I did, it would probably be more of the big thing right now, which probably won't be the big thing by the time I get to it, is like the romantasy. Like we were talking about romance at the beginning. I'm not a big romance reader, but this family member of mine is incredible at writing it, and I loved it. I was like, get this out. And I'm like, I'm not saying that just because I'm family. It was great. And so I really like them to do that. But me actually writing, like, let's say more of a steamy side of the romance, maybe not my forte. But putting a little bit of that on the page would be okay. I actually just wrote my first, kind of like you sing. So a little teaser there, and I was like, that was kind of fun. But most of everything, that will happen in the future in the books is off screen just because it's clean fantasy and family friendly, that kind of thing. But if I branched out, I would probably do that just because romance is the biggest genre. So
Yeah,
maybe.
nice. So besides coming to Texas Author Con in July, where can people find your books?
Online, I'm wide, so I am not in Kindle Unlimited. So you can do the big retailers, Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Kobo, wherever you get your books.
Mhm.
Shortly, I will be opening my own online store. So I'll be selling direct. sometime later this summer. I got to get that all set up after the big family event. That website is author stephaniedossantos.com, and that is the same ID for Instagram, Facebook, TikTok for however long it's here. And I try to just stick with that same one just all the way across, so it's not confusing.
Nice.
That's a good idea.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. So we'll have your website listed in the description down below of the video. And we'll also have a link to the Eventbrite for the Texas AuthorCon and Book Festival. It is a free event, but if you grab a ticket, you'll be eligible for some prizes, I believe. So yeah, we hope to see you in July. Stephanie, it was a real
Yes.
pleasure. You're such a bright personality. So even though we
You were
struck
wondering what she
out,
was about to say, weren't you? You're like, where's she going with this?
Oh, what's he gonna say?
no, but even though we struck out on questions, we still made it fun.
Oh, that.
Right?
Oh man. Yeah, you're gonna have to get me next time.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll get you next
We'll
time. Maybe
feed
we'll
you
have
the
you.
answers
Yeah.
next time, and then
Feed me
you'll.
ahead of time. Give me hints.
Yeah.
Sounds like 2 words.
Yeah. Although you did answer the first question correctly by saying Star Wars.
Oh, okay,
So
good. I'm in the good graces then, right?
thumbs
Still?
up to
Okay.
that. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, come on down and stop by Stephanie's table and look at her beautiful covers and pick up her books, and we will see you all in July.
And get some candy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
get some candy. All right. Bye, Stephanie. Thank you for stopping
Bye,
over.
guys. You're a hoot.
Take it easy.